I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the Empire State New Market Corporation for Friday, September 13th, 2019. I'd like to note for the record that I will be the acting chairman for today's meeting. Further, I would like to note that this meeting is being webcast and that we welcome public comment on the items on our agenda. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I'd like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflicts of interest with regard to any items on the agenda. If so, I would ask that you make an appropriate disclosure at this time, so we will be sure that you will recuse yourself for any discussion or vote with regard to such item or items.
I have none.
Hearing none. The first order of business today is the approval of the minutes from the August 14th, 2019 meeting. Are there any questions, comments, additions, or deletions? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Jonathan Hornsby will present the next item on today's agenda, which is a request, among other things, for authorization to adopt the general project plan for Courier Plastics. John Evan.
Thank you, and good afternoon. The directors are being asked to adopt the general project plan and to authorize a suballocation of up to $6.5 million of federal New Markets tax credits for the purpose of enabling the subsidiary CDE to make loans to the borrower to finance the expansion of operations in Auburn, New York. The directors are also being asked to delegate to one or more authorized officers of Empire State New Market Corporation, acting in its own capacity or as managing member of the subsidiary CDE, the authority to determine the terms of the transaction documents and to execute such documents on behalf of ESNMC and the subsidiary CDE in connection with the closing of the transaction. Courier Plastics, Inc., established in 1982 by Raymond J. Courier, designs and manufactures custom plastic molded products that utilizes design, injection, and blow molding technologies. Courier is a preferred supplier to many automotive, medical, telecommunications, food and beverage, and consumer products companies. The project will allow Courier to purchase equipment and repay existing equipment debt along with other expenses of approximately $10.1 million to expand and grow operations in a highly distressed rural community in Auburn, New York. Courier will buy new energy-efficient electric molding machines to replace older hydraulic machines, resulting in up to 70% less electric consumption per unit output. The company will also improve the use of its compressors, including newer, more highly efficient ones. This investment will enable Courier to expand product offerings, including into the in vitro diagnostics market, and increase productivity and profitability. The project will also allow for a future 90,000 square foot expansion of the company's manufacturing facility to allow for additional growth. The project is expected to create approximately 20 full-time jobs and retain approximately 150 full-time jobs. Courier is expected to partner with the Cayuga County Workforce Development Board to hire disadvantaged populations. Courier is also expected to work in partnership with the Advanced Manufacturing Institute at Cayuga Community College for additional hiring. This investment addresses ESNMC's goals of providing investments in non-metropolitan areas, making investments in manufacturing companies, providing capital for non-real estate purposes, and catalyzing future investment. The tax credit investor for this project will be Chase Bank, with which ESNMC has previously closed the Schenectady Boys and Girls Project, and a newly formed special purpose entity will be the leverage lender for the project. The directors are hereby requested to authorize the adoption of the proposed general project plan and the suballocation of up to $6.5 million New Markets tax credits. The directors are also requested to delegate to one or more authorized officers of ESNMC, acting in its own capacity or as managing member of the subsidiary CDE, the authority to determine the terms of the transaction documents and to execute such documents on behalf of ESNMC and the subsidiary CDE in connection with the closing. Thank you.
Thank you, John Evan. Are there any questions from the directors with regard to this item? Donovan, can you, just at a very high level, tell me the total project costs here?
Sure, so the total
And-
project oh, sorry, go ahead.
And you just sort of high level what that funding is being used for, and then high level what the sources of that funding are.
Sure, so the total project costs are approximately $10.1 million, and that'll be used to purchase machinery and equipment, and also for the repayment of debt associated with the purchase of machinery and equipment.
Okay. And the source of funding for that $10.1 million
Sure.
project?
Sure, so the source will be a combination of debt from Chase Bank and also an equity investment by Chase Bank. So the new market tax credit equity portion will be about $1.8 million net. That combined with a leverage source from Chase will serve as the $6.5 million in tax credit allocation. And then the rest of the funds will be provided by sponsor equity and other sources.
And among that other sources is an ESD grant?
No. I'm sorry, yes, well, some of the equity that's provided, some of the leverage sources that's provided may be part of an ESD grant that's going to be provided to the company.
So the line that says sponsor equity, cash flow, Chase debt, other sources of 3.8, included within that is an ESD grant.
So no, included within the 2.8, the 785 or the other 75 would potentially be some of an ESD grant. But those are terms, kind of leverage sources.
Okay. And what are the jobs associated with this?
So there'll be about 20 new full-time jobs and 150 retained jobs.
Are there any other questions or comments from the directors? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Gentlemen will also present the next item on today's agenda, which relates to the Chautauqua Center project. Gentlemen.
Thank you. Directors are being asked to adopt the general project plan and to authorize a suballocation of up to $7 million of federal new markets tax credits for the purpose of enabling the subsidiary CD to make loans to the borrower to finance the costs of construction of a new federally qualified health center in Jamestown, New York. The directors are also being asked to delegate to one or more authorized officers of Empire State New Market Corporation, acting in its own capacity or as managing member of the subsidiary CDE, the authority to determine the terms of the transaction documents and to execute such documents on behalf of VSNMC and the subsidiary CDE in connection with the closing of the transaction. The Chautauqua Center provides critically needed healthcare services to medically underserved residents throughout Chautauqua County, with its primary focus on serving the low-income and Hispanic populations. The Chautauqua Center began operations in 2017. Since opening, the center has served close to 9,000 unique individuals and families, with a service area consisting of all of Chautauqua County. These services include primary care, pediatrics, oral health, behavioral health, family planning, substance abuse, care coordination, case management, and a number of support services. The project will consist of the construction of an approximately 77,000 square foot state-of-the-art federally qualified health center located in downtown medical corridor of Jamestown in the southern portion of the county. The project will create a medical mall and ease the process of obtaining health and support services for patients in the Chautauqua Center. The expansion project will allow for an increase in the number of patients served from 4,000 to 14,000 and over 50,000 visits annually. The new facility will serve a low-income population, including at least 60% who are on Medicaid. 35 to 40% of the patients are minority, including migrant populations. The center will also be adding new technology to provide more telehealth medicine for services that are not available locally. The project is expected to create approximately 68 full-time jobs and retain approximately 34 full-time jobs. It is also estimated that 70 construction jobs will be created as part of the project. This investment addresses ESNMC's goals of providing investments in non-metropolitan areas and making investments in highly distressed communities. The tax credit investor for this project is U.S. Bank, with which ESNMC has previously closed the National Comedy Center, the SUNY Broome Culinary Arts Center, and the Aldi projects. And a newly formed non-for-profit support corporation will be the leveraged lender for the project. The directors are hereby asked to authorize the adoption of the proposed general project plan and the suballocation of up to $7 million of New Markets tax credits. The directors are also to one or more authorized officers of the ESNMC, acting in its own capacity or as managing member of the subsidiary CDE, the authority to determine the terms of the transaction documents and to execute such documents on behalf of the ESNMC and the subsidiary CDE in connection with closing the transaction. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Have any questions or comments from the directors?
John, just a quick question. There's a reference here to the federal poverty level. Do you know what that federal poverty level is for the area?
In that area? I'm not exactly.
Okay.
58.8%. It's in the materials.
Just one small typo on page 2. This is
Yeah, it's in the, there's a listing of the criteria around distress, highly distressed area. Was that your question, Edwin?
Yeah. That's fine. Thank you.
Jonathan, just sort of same thing. I get the jobs. This is a $18 million project. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. Yeah, so it's an $18 million project. 6.9 or $7 million of that is in the form of a direct loan from Evans Bank. The equity investment will come from U.S. Bank of about $2 million, and that will be leveraged with about $4.8 million of sources. And then there will be a state grant from the New York State Department of Health in the amount of $3.5 million and about a $1 million federal grant.
All right. And then I think you said this organization just came into existence 2 years ago?
2013.
2013. I thought you said 2017. Paul, are you familiar with this institute?
no, that's what I was going to ask. What other facilities in Jamestown do they operate?
Yeah, so they have one smaller facility in Jamestown and also a facility in Dunkirk. And this facility will be consolidating or taking over. They will close down the current facility in Jamestown, and this will be a bigger facility.
Yeah, it's a similar medical mall in Dunkirk.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that I'm familiar with.
So the organization has experience in this type of project and in terms of creating a facility like this and delivering?
Yes,
Yeah,
I was thrown by the name of the Chautauqua Center.
Got it. Thanks. All right, are there any other questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item? Are there any, comments or questions from the public with regard to this item? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion?
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. I guess, London, just to note that on the first item, I didn't ask for comments from the public. Do we need to go back and redo that, or are we good?
We should go back and redo that.
Okay. So let's go back to the Courier Plastics item that John Evan presented. That's the Auburn plastics manufacturer. We've already had comments and questions from the directors. Are there any comments or questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, I would just, ask for a motion again for approval.
So moved.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you for everyone for your participation. Being no further business, I would call for a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.